Hello, Oakland.
Oh,
Yes.
yes. Our neighbors.
Yeah.
Hi, Lori. Oh my gosh, it's good to see people that I
All
know.
right. Well, thank you, everyone. We are now streaming live to YouTube. If you are watching live, you are probably engaged in this already quite active chat. I love it. If you're watching the recording, we are so happy that you've decided to join us. No matter how you found us, we are happy you're here. You belong. You're welcome. And I am so excited to kick us off tonight. My name is David Hotler, and I am the community manager for Book Creator. I have about 15 years of educational experience working in both Europe and the United States. I was teaching photography, video production, graphic design, and then later taught teachers how to integrate technology. And now I get to work with teachers on a daily basis with Book Creator and other ed tech tools and bring you amazing webinars like this one, where I get to bring with me people much smarter, much more talented than me on a wide range of things. So joining me today is Lisa Highfill. Lisa Highfill teaches in Pleasanton, California. Did I say that right?
Yes.
She has probably 20 plus years in education and is just an absolute guru, co-founder of HyperDocs, the HyperDocs handbook, hyperdocs.com. You can check them out online. Fantastic digital lesson planning expert. So we are so happy to have with us Lisa, who is an absolute whiz at lesson planning. Now I'm setting this up, all right? We also have with us Vlad Gutkovich, who is, among many things, I'm going to just name drop here. Vlad used to work for Vocabulary, Schoolzilla, Seesaw, but most recently is the founder of Diffit.me. .me, right?
Not me.
Yeah, .me. And we're going to get in a little bit more about what Diffit is, but essentially you have joined a webinar all about differentiation for lesson planning using AI tools. So we're going to be using the so famous ChatGPT tool as today, like we did in the last one. Sorry, back up real quick. Lisa and I did one of these, I think it was May, Lisa?
Yeah,
where we chatted. Yeah, and we like dissected a HyperDoc lesson, and then ChatGPT like went in and you like used it to rebuild this thing and like learn about the lesson planning process and like more in depth. It was insane. So fun. It will be linked if you're watching. It will be linked below in the comments on YouTube. I'll put it in there if you didn't get a chance to watch it. But today we're going to continue that conversation, but add in a new tool and take it like 10x deeper. We're going to add in Diffit. And so before we get rolling into really, Lisa's sort of going to guide the conversation today. So what she's done is she's used the tools and mixed them with her expert teacher knowledge and her digital lesson planning knowledge. And she's going to walk us through this process that she used, discovering these tools and discovering really profound ways to use them. Vlad and I are going to be on the sidelines asking questions, answering questions, and just like poking and prodding at this whole presentation. So what I want to do is let Vlad have a moment to just summarize for us, give us this spiel. What is Diffit.me? We know it's an AI tool.
For sure. Thanks so much for having me. And I'm excited and honored to be here. We launched Diffit really only 6 or so months ago. And believe it or not, this is my first like webinar about Diffit that I've done. So I'm super pumped to be here. So Diffit, what we are building is a tool that is designed to let teachers get the exact learning materials they need for whatever topic, student, or lesson they're working with. That's the vision, right? Now, I think we're a baby step of the way there. So thanks for the love. I saw some folks in the chat. I appreciate it, but I think we're just getting started. And fundamentally, the idea is, as everybody on this webinar knows, teachers do and have always spent oodles of time preparing for lessons and trying to differentiate instruction and going and getting stuff from everything from Google to YouTube to tools like Teachers Pay Teachers or Newsella, or there's like a million places to get resources, right? And we just think that one of the best possible uses of AI, candidly, that I've seen, period, like in general in the world, but certainly in K-12, is to make that process both easier and more effective so that teachers can spend less time doing, like, fulfilling their vision for what instruction and a lesson can be, and being able to differentiate and scaffold in ways that historically just used to be way too time prohibitive. When we were interviewing teachers to start Diffit, every teacher we talked to had that one story where they tried to like adapt Federalist 10 or, you know, rewrite a Frederick Douglass package, and it took them, you know, 17 hours, and they were like, I'm amazing at differentiating, but I'm never doing that again. So that's like the sort of big picture. Specifically today, Diffit allows you to either take any existing reading material you have, whether that's an excerpt, a text, an article URL, or a PDF, and adapt it for any grade level and into any language, or to have AI generate a reading passage similarly for any grade level about any content and topic. That's sort of the input. What the output that we give you gives you a reading passage, some comprehension questions that I think Lisa's going to talk about of various sort of depth of knowledge levels, a summary, a vocabulary list. And then what we're working on is, great, we gave you some content. We're trying to make that content as good as possible. Now, how do we help you take that into like student ready to share materials, whether that's forms or docs or, you know, hint, hint, coming soon, slides, which we're really excited about. So you can actually get that into your students' hands, whether physically or digitally, in as little time as possible. That's what we're up to.
Awesome. Awesome. So using AI for good, I love it. And making teachers' lives so much easier. I'm just, as you were talking, I'm looking at the chat and people are like, it's amazing. I love it. This is so good. Yeah. So Lisa's super excited about it being exported to slides. Heart, Naree's got blown up face. Yeah. So I know I'm excited about it. Vlad, you and I met at ISTE in June, and you know, I was blown away. I'd never heard of it. And then I went on and I was like, World War II, and then, you know, just got like all this stuff. I was like, oh gosh. But Lisa, you have taken it much further than my like initial scratching, and I've been getting emails since ISTE. I think you've got, I mean, Vlad, you all have dropped like 10 features since ISTE. It's gotten so much more powerful. So Lisa, I'm excited to sort of hear your take. And then maybe actually that's just a good segue, just to take us into this amazing journey you're going to take us on today. I'm excited.
So again, for those who I'm just meeting for the first time, please understand, I'm a huge lesson plan geek, like big time. Like, look at he's laughing. Like, I think way too much about this, but it's just a passion. And I love to talk about the process of my thinking. And I'm kind of can be all over the place. So I made slides today for you. So I'm going to share my screen and share a little bit about this thought process, because I have been really amazed going through Diffit. Like at first, when I first saw it, I have to admit, you know, I always have the AI skeptical, you know, check. Is this an easy button? Is this going to take away my thinking? Like, I really value the thinking behind lesson design. And, you know, there's a time and a place. I do get that, a really important time and a place for when lessons need, or our work needs to be sped up. And there's times when we really need to slow down in order to go fast. Also clarifying, the lesson I'm about to walk you through, as I was creating with Diffit, I'm a teacher in a virtual academy. So I have a really specific needs to meet the students that I work with through a virtual setting. So you might see some of that in there. And, you know, I just want to clarify the lesson that I'm doing. I haven't done it with the kids yet. I'm doing it next week because I just started school. This is our third day of school. I'm on my lunch break, and it's about that back to school, executive functioning, and getting ready to be a learner. So that's kind of where we're coming from with this. And Vlad, I really love this discussion we had at one point about why we differentiate and where we can, and why it would be important. It's kind of all those like really important decision-making pieces we have to a lesson. It's not for every lesson. I know that. Sometimes I just need to get her done and have the kids just do some tasks. And sometimes I really want this lesson to stick. And so I picked a lesson on purpose that I need to stick all year long. Actually, no pressure. Students, I need this to stick for the rest of their life because it's an important one. So I'm trying to create that sticky learning. And by creating something that meets their needs, I'm really hoping. So Vlad, please interrupt me through this process, and David, because you can already tell I get super excited about this. And when I talk about lessons and lesson planning and designing, this is not one of mine, but I want to clarify, if you haven't heard of HyperDocs before, this is a lesson plan that I might take notes on, planning for a lesson I might want to deliver in the future. The one on the right here is a HyperDoc. This is a lesson, a digital lesson that I've created to give to students, and I have it linked up here. This lesson is just created on a Google Doc. It has 3 separate portions. A student can pick this lesson up and know exactly what to do to work their way through it. I know, David, you're looking at all my fancy colors on there. Look at you already.
I love it. I love your designs.
Well, it's on purpose. And trust me, I'm going to tell you that purpose.
Oh, I know. Everything on a
Here it
HyperDoc has meaning. Yeah.
Because you knew you're going to get this lecture. When I sit down and make a lesson, and if I'm going to take this much time, I really have to clarify my goals and what is it I really want to come out of that lesson? And am I providing that learning experience for kids to really achieve those goals? So if I want them to really learn how the benefits of active listening for learning, then I've got to really design this lesson for that purpose. And also, if I want them to remember this, how am I going to build that into this lesson? How am I going to create some sticky learning? I also need to consider accessibility and that lesson design flow. Such an important piece when I'm differentiating. This all started, I should say, I saw this article this summer, Listening to Understand, How to Practice Active Listening. And it was great. It's super long. There's ads. And then it gets into like this whole business, like how to work with your business colleagues. I'm sorry, it's so, I'm scrolling so quickly, but I knew this was the piece I wanted to work with. So I knew that Diffit was going to help me with that. And I want to show you where. So when I talk about the lesson flow, I can create material and just give it straight to the student. But for me, the magic, that secret sauce about that HyperDoc is the lesson flow and how I deliver that lesson. It's that pedagogy piece. That's really important for making those lessons stick. So my lesson's about executive functioning, and I want students to explore first, and then I will explain the concept, and then they will apply the concept. Wait till you see where I use Diffit in this process. I decided to look at, I even had to animate my slides. This is how excited I was. Sorry. I used it for the exploration piece because, of course, I wanted to bring that article in a way that all students could understand. I knew that was the heart of my lesson, is them understanding. Without me reading it to them, without me lecturing them about it, I needed them to explore that on their own. I also was able to bring Diffit into the explanation portion, where we clarified their full understanding of what it means to be an active listener. And then I can't leave you out, David, book creator. I have to say, I usually use book creator in the apply portion of my lessons. Get kids creating with book creator, right? That's the obvious. Last time I was on this webinar, I packaged the whole lesson using book creator. This time, I put it here. Book creator is going to live in the explore part. And yes, you could call me extra for what I did, but I want you as a learner to look at it and see what you think. Does it appeal to your learning needs? Ooh, there we go. All right. Am I going too fast? Should I pause?
No,
this is great.
This is great. I also want to just let everybody know that Lisa didn't share her slides with Vlad or I before this. This is like, we're all seeing this for the first time too. Yeah, that's why she's like, can't wait to tell you where I put you.
And I'm watching your faces on the screen. I have you right here. I can see your reaction. This is,
I'm so excited.
I told
All
you,
right.
I warned you, I was a lesson plan geek. I do get excited about this. And I'll tell
Okay.
you, it travels over to my students. They know it. And now that I'm teaching high schoolers, I have to tone it down a little. As my son would say, you are way more excited than they are, Mom. You need to calm down. So I could be cool too and calm about it. So let's talk about how I used Diffit. For the explore portion. I took that article and I put it right into Diffit, and I actually have it up here. And I just wanted to see, and remember in the very beginning, I was saying I was concerned about that easy button. Like, sure, I could just put the article in and go from there. I was sorely mistaken. My brain exploded the day I did this and put this in here. And I realized while I was doing this, the first thing I know I had to animate was changing the grade level readability for it. I think I did that way too long because I was like, oh, let me compare and contrast. Let me see, what did they leave in? What did they leave out? Not only that, I could change the language, which was really great to meet the needs for all my students. And I could change the length of it, which was another factor that caused me to redo this so many times. It was amazing. It's like, how many combinations of a different article can you make? Like,
I'm not sure if this is a
numerous.
feature or a bug, but
No.
Yeah. So this is.
I'm excited to make
Go.
things a little simpler for folks, or at least to let you save your preferences over time. So the next time you're like, I love it to be at this level, at this length, and then you don't have to go 20 times.
But I have to
Oh,
say,
interesting.
this is where my lesson planning thinking came in,
Mhm.
because I was really thinking when I saw this medium length one, like, it's too short. It's not getting, it's leaving parts out that I really wanted. So then I was going back to different grade levels. I'm like, well, maybe I want it longer, but I wanted a little younger grade level. So I kind of it was really an amazing process. And I highly recommend you all take a little time and play with it. Like, don't just go in and do it once, like do this compare and contrast. And I have to say, I had this huge aha during this. And this is a question I have for you, Vlad. Can students come in and do this with any reading that they have?
Such a good question. Right now, short answer is no. And I think that for now, we have built Diffit explicitly as a teacher tool. It's even in the name because we really want to be clear who it's for. Diffit for teachers, if you look closely at the logo. And I think there's really two reasons for that. One is AI is so new, and we've all read the stories about how there's potential for it to hallucinate. There's potential for it to be biased. There's potentials for it to be, abused by users. And we believe in the teacher being in the loop, and that we hope that in coming years or months, like, it'll get safer and safer with more and more guardrails, where we would, I think, as a profession, have more and more confidence in students, having access. But especially early on with a new product, we felt like it was really important to keep teachers in the loop before materials get to students. And the other, frankly, is like student IDs and student data privacy. And you all know that stuff is super serious and important. And we wanted to focus on making the best possible tools we can for teachers before going into that whole surface area of the sort of infrastructure required to do student-facing tools the right way.
I
Awesome.
think that's great. And I really am happy for that clarification. My head is spinning about ways I can really zero in, like a student with an IEP or a student that I'm conferring with, and seeing if they're struggling with reading comprehension. And we can do it together. And so when I'm doing those conferencing meetings, so good information. I see we have a question.
Oh, where?
Raised.
Great question.
Well,
I had a hand raised. William, if you have a question, just type it in the chat
great.
or use the Q&A feature, because webinar, I can't open up your mic. So, but yeah, maybe you just accidentally hit the raise hand button. No big deal. But use the chat or Q&A.
And do interrupt me, because I'm getting on it. I'm actually talking really fast. So this process, though, I really this is where the big ahas were happening for me. And I do recommend you take some time and think about the way you want that lesson to be front facing for those students. And I could take different versions of it. I love it. One of my favorite features, I'm so happy you did this, I had to demonstrate this, is how I can export it, how I can share this lesson. So I had to try them all. I did the Google Doc version, and then I did the Google Form version. And I love tables. It just helps me as a reader to really zero in on how that looks. And so here it is. Here is that document. And I was able to go through it. This actually helped me really analyze, and I can edit this now and change it and design this document for my students any way I want to improve. I'm about a visual learner, and so you could see when I make pretty docs, I'll change things up, I'll chunk text and things like that. I went through this though, and because I had chosen the long version, I decided to take out a lot. And so I was able to proofread this on the Google Doc. It was really easy. I did a strike through because I just wanted to share with you today, but I definitely could delete that. And I did delete it on my form. It got down to the reading summary, which was so important for me and was so succinct in what points I wanted them to take from it. And then I got down to the multiple choice questions, and I'll come back to this, how I made these a little different. And then there's short answer questions that were generated straight from Diffit. And then there was also, the short answer. Oh, the open-ended questions. Probably my favorite were the open-ended questions. So it created a space students could write right on here. And I could have stopped right there, but David knows I'm extra. I can't stop there.
Can I stop you just for 1 second?
Yes.
I want to let everyone know that Catherine Green is in the chat, and she is working with Diffit. So if you're asking questions, hi, Catherine. If you're asking questions, she's answering them. You're getting a direct response from Diffit. Vlad and I are trying to just chat. I'm trying to answer some questions, but Catherine is expert in the chat.
I'll also take a moment to shout out Catherine for this much better Google Docs template that you're seeing now. When it was Adam and I, it was a much less usable Google Docs template that Diffit sort of exported into. So anything that looks good and usable on Diffit as far as export, Catherine's the one to thank.
No, this is awesome. And Catherine, you have been great. I reach out to you. I've been asking questions because I was just really curious. And this was something that maybe you want to talk more to, Vlad. This generated right in when I shared it to a Google Doc, it cited the article for me and it links straight back to the article. And I was really excited to see that in terms for copyright purposes. And you had a new release. That just came out. Do you want me to pause and talk about that?
I'm happy to give a quick, I'm particularly excited about this, and I'm happy to, I won't take us on too long of a detour, but actually, you know, what's always fun and risky is live demos. How would you feel trying something?
You want me to stop sharing and you do it?
Or no, you can, it's fine.
Okay. If I don't mind.
Just open a new tab or go to start new with Diffit or whatever you want.
Okay.
So, you know, I'm seeing some folks talk about AI hallucination, and that's an important thing for, I think, people to understand about ChatGPT and any other AI platform in terms of the way it works, is that essentially it's been fed the world's content, like all of it, which includes great content like Encyclopedia Britannica or, you know, history.com or whatever, but it also includes like every Reddit thread that was ever written and all of Twitter and stuff that like isn't actually necessarily trustworthy. And what it does, the way it generates information for you is basically from all of that information, guess the next best like word chunk, essentially. And so, especially if you give it something that there's a lot of misinformation or weird information about, or something that there isn't much information about, it's going to very confidently write an informational text for you that sounds legit, but maybe absolutely false. And so that's always a risk with using AI, right? We're excited about what we built recently because we essentially made a way to circumvent that and cite and show you when you generate a text using AI exactly what sources it came from. First of all, to generate that text from known and vetted sources, and two, to cite back to those sources and show you where the information came from, which we just feel like is a big step as a teacher to give you more confidence in what you're putting in front of your students and not have to like be worried that, man, I hope I didn't put something totally wrong in front of my kids today. So yeah, we could do a super quick demo. If you go to
let's do
you
it.
go to literally anything, which
Uh-huh.
is our tab for like not adapting an existing text, but something else. And I don't know, let's try, I was a music major and I really like funk music. So we could try history of funk drumming, for example.
I can't wait for this.
Who knows what'll happen. But this might be the kind of deep dive you might do for a student based on interests, or to give them a reading passage that they would be really excited about going deeper on because of relevant, interests. So yeah, pick whatever grade level you want. And then it'll do its spinny thing for a minute. Which is just the AI thinking, and I'm gonna keep talking right over that spinny thing, film the time, and then you'll see hopefully within 30 seconds what I mean by cited sources.
I'm actually okay that this is taking a moment, because the amount of stuff that comes back from this is alarmingly huge. And if it came back too quickly, I would be like, there's no way. What?
Well,
Funk drumming, history of funk drumming, better take 30 seconds to generate something.
Yeah, and oh, there we go. Okay. So we got our resource, which, as I mentioned, will have the reading and the questions and the summary and the vocabulary words. But here's the rest of the pieces will take another few seconds to load. The point is really on the reading. If you scroll up, so here's the magic. If you click that show sources button, it actually shows you in line and below, like exactly where on the internet this information came from. Like if you down there. And so you actually can have real confidence in this information and be able to track it back to where it came from. And we're selecting specific, like we've made some choices about what sources we quote unquote trust as well. So
oh my gosh.
Inline citation is a big deal. That's not just cited sources at the end. Inline citation is a huge deal. That is a huge deal. Wow.
So
now everyone's head is.
You're almost looking at like the thinking process that the AI went through.
Oh, I know.
Because you can, look, like 5 and 6 are in a paragraph. Like, yeah, obviously it was all of one, and then you've got 2 and 3. Oh my gosh. I feel like we're looking at tea leaves in the water, like trying to figure out what did the machine do?
Yeah,
this is awesome. I'm so glad we're
pretty amped about this, and actually, I'll also give you a secret pro tip for folks that might want to use this feature. If you really like specific sources, like if you're just like, I am always trying to pull from Smithsonian articles, I trust Smithsonian articles, etc. If you're a history teacher or something like that, in the literally anything, when I type that in, if you said history of funk drumming, Smithsonian.com or Smithsonian articles only. Again, like we'll see, it's probably not going to be 100% right, but it should give you only information where it exists, if it exists. Probably works better with larger corpuses of data like New York Times or something like that. It should give you stuff just from there as well. So,
wow,
this is incredible.
And seems like a bug that the other things didn't load, but I'll put that one in my
well, I do love, and I think it's really great too. And I'm going to get to this in a minute, how you can edit these or add prompts. I love that control piece. And that's where I'm taking back that easy button, because as a designer, I'm really thinking through this, or the thinking is actually started for me. So I don't have to come up with those questions from the onset. This is incredible. I think my brain taking in these numbers and these linked sources, this is something that I've been missing, to be honest, in other AI courses.
And we just had someone in the chat just be like, hey, you could have students dig in to each one of those citations and do more reading. And Lisa, this is something we talked about in the last one about lateral reading and how it really reveals the like 6 places you should go be doing the lateral reading.
It really does.
I love it. Yeah.
I absolutely love it. This is, oh my gosh. Okay. Cool. That's another webinar now.
Yeah.
Sorry for the
live demo.
Yeah.
No, this was huge. Thank you for that live demo there. That was perfect. And I did want to show that coming back to this, which was a great segue from the Google Doc, which I could share and give to students right from there and read. And if that was my flow of my lesson, great. Or I could have linked it up on the HyperDoc, however I wanted, whatever I wanted them to do with it. I have to say, though, I love the Google form. Especially if my purpose was my workflow was, I wanted to get those answers to those questions back. And so if I view this form, I did go in and delete the pieces with the coworker. I want you all, as you're watching this, to think as a learner, though. And I'm developing this for 6th through 12th graders because we teach multi-age in Virtual Academy. And thinking about, again, readability. I know I've got it differentiated, the content for where I wanted it to be. I compared it to the original article too. It really did a nice job with that. And if I didn't like parts, I can edit and change them. It gives the summary, which I can change this around if I want. It gives the vocabulary. I could have moved this up to the top if I wanted, because it's in a Google form. And then it gives me questions. And so I could have the students required to fill in their answers. And then there's short answers. They can type them in here, which I love this in terms of workflow. Like, it's already done for me. I didn't have to go and then build the form. So thank you so much for thinking about that. That export is critical for really, those are the things I want sped up. Those are the things I want to be able to just click, create, or share that way and export. And again, that would be here under, open. Where was it? I was on my other one. It was the open with.
I think if you refresh, it should show you the
okay
forms as well.
Okay.
I just want to jump in and just say that one of the people in the chat, and I read here, she went in and put in like the history of hip hop, and she's saying that she's really impressed with culturally relevant like sources, always addressing bias in sources when looking at culturally relevant information. I think that's one of the things that I'm really excited about with AI too, is like bringing to the surface voices that aren't heard by your general, just like sort and stack, rank, sort, stack stuff you get back from Google. So I think that's also fantastic to point out. Thank you, Nairi, for just running a check on that with your knowledge base that you have. That's a really great point.
Nairi, you're always adding to my learning and thinking around purposeful lesson design and having that control. But I honestly feel like, Diffit, you are my assistant. You're next to me, helping me with this. I'm not alone creating this, and it's doing a lot of heavy lifting, but I also have feel in control of editing pretty quickly. So everyone, this is when you're going to roll your eyes at me because I had to go extra, but I did it for David. This is for you, David. Because where does Book Creator fit in? When I first, you knew I was going to do this. When I first created this and I looked at the doc and the form, and I know I have brand new 6, 7, new middle schoolers, and it's beginning of the year. I took that into consideration and I thought, I want to be creative and repackage that work that Diffit did for me. And I have that option. I have that control. And so the extra piece to me created a book of the article. And I want you as a learner to think about which way, because this is what I'm going to ask my students also, which way do you want the article? What do you prefer? Do you want to read it this way, or do you want to read it from the form? And so I move things around because I can. And I put the main idea and the definitions in the beginning. And I wanted them to be thinking about these questions as they were reading through this. And I did a little research for helping dyslexic readers in terms of colors that you choose and fonts. So every choice on here is based on that in the colors chosen and how it's laid out. So think about, how is your brain taking in the information right now? And again, this is me just being, you could tell I've had a lot of training in UDL, and how does that come out in my lesson design? Are you seeing this article differently now? I didn't have to do the work. All I did was copy and paste from the Diffit outline. It was that easy. And I just made all the pages look the same. I was able to put markers for points I really wanted them to stand out and pay attention to and to highlight. There's parts that, I'm still thinking about, like I tried playing around with making things bold to highlight important terms. I'm playing with color. After doing some reading about dyslexia and helping readers access content, and kind of chunking information like this.
This
And
is so cool, Lisa.
this is my
Also makes me think like we should start talking to Book Creator about an export to Book Creator. Populate all of that.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Well, and that's so, Vlad, perfect question, because Rachel just asked, how long, Lisa, did it take you to make a book from, I'm assuming you pulled this from the Google Doc that it spit out. What is this, 30 minutes?
Yeah. So I sat there and I figured out my colors and my fonts, everything first. So then it was really simple to not make those decisions. I brought in graphics from Noun Project to make sure it really fit. Book Creator had so many, but I was really careful. Like I didn't want to go down rabbit holes. Book Creator is its own rabbit hole. And I was like, oh, I can design in Canva and import it in. And then I thought, okay, calm down. Just make this simple so that it's sustainable. Now, I have to say, you might say, I don't have 30 minutes. This was something that, because Diffit did the work for me and I was able to pull from that, I was watching a movie while I was doing this. So I was just playing around and changing colors and fonts. And that's kind of like, I can't even watch movies anymore without like being on my computer playing. It's an illness. But I also, no, it's my attention issues, clearly. But I did this because I'm going to use this over and over again. This is a beginning of the year lesson that I know it's going to stay in my toolbox for a long time, and I can edit this easily. I would not do this for just a one-off lesson that's like a one and done. Never. I don't think I would ever take that kind of time. I would definitely give the form and the Google Doc, but because I wanted to take my time and create a lesson that was really, really something that I would come back to and understand. Now you can understand this explore portion of this lesson. The kids would be able to click on it right here, access the lesson, click on open the Book Creator book, and be able to read it this way. And I also need to, it's the beginning of the year. I need their attention. I need them to go to my lessons and be like, ooh, what does she have here for us? What does she have surprised? So it's that engagement.
Can I also point out too, since we're talking about UDL and differentiation, when you're in Book Creator, and this came up in the chat a minute ago, you can actually click a read to me button.
I was hoping.
And it will read it out loud.
Yep.
So someone's like, does Diffit read to students? I was like, no, but Book Creator does. And then Lisa copy and paste what Diffit gave, made a book in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
For the students who prefer that. And it also has a read to me button and a remix button. Someone asked me, what does remix do? Remix basically is make me a copy. So if anyone has the link, they click on it. Now they have a copy of the same book, which is totally Lisa's mindset.
Well,
like,
y'all know I'm a sharer. Hey,
share.
teachers give teachers. So I always have remix, but I'm so glad I almost skipped that. The read to me was another deciding factor for why I chose Book Creator for this article, because I was really thinking about how am I going to build in access for all my students. And they're virtual. So I'm not sitting right next to them. I need to have this already built in and lots of choices for them as a learner. All right, you guys, I'm only in the first part of the lesson.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We have 20 minutes left.
I know.
Vlad and I better stop talking. Yeah. But, this might run more than an hour, folks.
I know.
This might run more than an hour.
I'll go quick. It's not that much deeper because I did touch on this a little bit. When it comes to the explain portion of the lesson, that's where normally I would put in my lecture. But I really love to build on peer-to-peer sharing of knowledge. And so before I jump in and revise schema and understanding, I need to see where they are. And I love for them to have a chance to learn from each other. This is where those questions, this just made me so happy, Vlad, this feature in Diffit. I could go from basic comprehension to strategic thinking based on the purpose. And I really went to those open-ended questions. Those really appealed to me for the purpose of this. I wanted to make this really authentic to them. So I needed to make those questions to be about how can it improve your relationship with each other? That is such a motivation to be good at active listening. And what techniques can you use and in what situations? Because I need this to stick. It's a big hint, everyone, right? Aren't you all saying beginning of the year, you better listen to me, class? So this was really helpful. I did not change or revise these questions at all. This is what Diffit gave me. I was really happy with that. And so now I have a place where students can go and post their thinking underneath here. I actually built it in where they could actually write on the HyperDoc, draft their ideas, and then copy and paste them. This is an extra layer to this learning, because then as the teacher, when I do have everyone together, I'm going to teach from this board. I'm going to pull out and highlight people's responses, and I'm going to revise their understanding, making sure they really comprehended the article. This is the big formative assessment piece to me that I like to slip in to my lesson design. And an important point. If I wanted to make it more than a formative assessment, like a real checkpoint, I would have definitely included the link to the form here. So those answers could come to me privately, and I can gauge how kids are understanding. I might even do both. I don't know. I have to think about that. And then we'll get to the apply portion of the lesson. And let me come back to here. The apply is just the practice. Let's practice. Let's put into practice what you just learned. We are, my lesson yesterday was you have to talk to people in a breakout room. And for those of you who are not doing remote learning anymore, you're probably cringing. I have to say, I love it. I love virtual learning. And this is the beginning of the year. Like you just have to talk in the virtual space. And so I thought, let's give them some reason to talk. And so they click on, oh, this is on the slide. They click on the link and it takes them to a very motivating spinner. Let me do it just once. It's so fun. Have you done this? Ooh.
Woo!
Oh, the famous question, back to school question. And these are great because you can edit these to whatever you want. I love what fictional character do you relate to most? Anyway, squirrel, here on something else. But do you see how that application of where this lesson flow has gone, that you're going to be in a breakout room with a partner, introduce yourself, spin the spinners and take turns answering the questions using those active listening strategies. I put in here that be prepared to share their answers. How much will you remember about your conversation? That's the test. Maybe I could put a form there. We're going to come back together live and do that portion, because that's the goal of active listening, is that because you listen to them and you were not thinking about other things while they were talking, you're going to remember what was said. And so that is, that's all she wrote. That's the whole lesson. And thank you for being patient and listening to my crazy thought process to build this. I'm very excited to do this lesson with 6th through 12th graders and see how it works.
So cool.
Oh my God, so cool.
I wish I was one of your students.
Yeah. So I want to thank you, first of all. That was awesome. And just walking us through your thought process was also really revealing. I'm sure both for Vlad and I and everyone else just thinking through, like, what were you thinking? Why did you do that? And then also you discover things that we don't always discover. Lisa is a clicker and an explorer, and she will test everything. She's famous for breaking websites. We had a couple questions come in and I want to address them here. First of all, Alberto, you asked, will we be sharing this presentation? Yes, we will make some of the resources available. Lisa shares all of her HyperDocs, and I don't know if the one she created is yet in a version she's ready to share, but we will make sure that the email that goes out after will have a link to resources. And if not, follow the link to YouTube, and I will put everything in the comment section. That's really the source of truth for us. The other one said, so Lisa, did you just copy and paste it into the form? I'm going to blow your mind here, Lisa Alexander. No, Diffit lets you export to a Google form. So if you wanted to make a quiz using the questions that they pre-generate for you, you can do that, which is pretty phenomenal. You can also export to a Google Doc, and Lisa showed us how you can take pretty quickly copy and paste text right out of Google Doc and make a book in Book Creator. Now, I wanted to bring up some of the other questions, and I think this is just going to continue to spark some conversations here. So the first one was from an anonymous attendee. Oh, anonymous attendee. In terms of text complexity, is there a specific tool or matrix or rubrics that is used? That's an interesting, it's probably less for Vlad.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So I think short answer is we're sort of mixing a couple of methodologies to try and get to what is going to most closely, most of the time, be about the right reading level for what you think your students need. I will say it's more of an art than a science currently. Like, for example, we would love to use something like Lexile levels, which is like a super validated, standardized, long-running, framework. But like that requires a ton of work and a partnership and licensing and money. And we're, a little baby startup that's trying to grow up to be big and mighty. So we are not able to do Lexile currently. We've gotten a bunch of requests to use things like CIFAR levels, which is more for, I think, like language learning, especially out in Europe, like A1, B1, et cetera. I think we're going to be evolving the flexibility we give you over time to sort of both fine tune the complexity you need and sort of save your settings in a way so that if you're like, I always need, readings and resources in these three sort of complexity levels for different tasks that or activities or lessons that I tend to repeat over and over again. We don't want to make you have to go explore too long. Although, Lisa, I love your point about actually exploration is when like creativity can often be sparked, which is kind of a great way to look at it too.
Cool. I love that. And as as the tool grows, so does its abilities and complexities. Form follows function. So I'm sure there's plenty of examples here, and I'm going to give a great example here in a second. It's going to meet the needs of what teachers want. And so if you're using it and you need and like things, you just heard Vlad say, we're a small startup and we want to grow. Startups do things based on what their users tell them that they want. So I am going to guarantee you right now, if you start reaching out to Vlad and you're like, I wish I could do this, I wish I could do that, they're going to be like, thank you. Now we know what our next product feature should be. So I've got one from, I believe it's Luis.
Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah.
I was going to say, like, literally everything we've built has been entirely based on what teachers have told us they need and why, and our understanding based on teacher feedback. So please keep it coming and don't stop.
Love it. Here's one for you. Synonyms and antonyms. Could you add them to vocabulary?
Short answer is yes, and we don't have that yet. And that's a great feature request. I'm going to make sure it's added to our roadmap.
Bam. Nairi Clark, what about ELD differentiation? That's going to be a new one for me. So Lisa, if you're going to pick this one up, I don't even know what
pass the baton to the expert educator in the room here.
I feel like I should know what that is.
Well, you can change the language when you import that. And so that's something that I am always practicing with kids, to be able to have them read in their, their original language, so that we could still be building comprehension for things. And changing the grade level is going to be really key to that. Bringing the grade level down to really simplify it, and chunking text and making less words, not so much. Even just using those three main ideas of the article was critical. That was just a critical part, just to have that one-on-one conversation with a newcomer in my classroom. So those are ways I didn't have to think of those three main points. It was so well said too. I couldn't have said it any better. So that's the part that I needed that assistant with. And I probably, during one-to-one time with newcomers, I would just reference those and speak to those, but also change the language. So Yeah.
Sorry, I'll just add one thing that a couple of thoughts around, scaffolding and building background knowledge. One thing that we've seen sort of the best uses of Diffit be is, and I think this is like teachers know best. Like the teacher is the only person I trust or the only data I trust as far as like what a student needs at the end of the day. Maybe that's a hot take, but I'm kind of into y'all. And I think like the optimal sort of complexity is challenging but accessible, right? It's productive struggle. It builds stamina. There's this like zone of proximal development, right? Concept, obviously. And so I think that's why we try to build in a lot of flexibility, but not a lot of prescription into how the tool is envisioned to like allow for teachers to have students, work with something, a newcomer, for example, reading, maybe yes, in English, but just like at the sort of outside of their ability, because that's what's going to push them forward. But maybe before that, they read a quick summary in their native language, because that builds relevant background knowledge to allow them to engage in that slightly difficult, English short version. So we've seen a lot of that kind of thing happen.
And I'm going to add to that because you just said one of my favorite words, zone of proximal development. Like as lesson plan geeks, I love that talk. But I think it's also what you do around the article. So if they could see, like when I had students posting responses on Padlet, they could see their classmates and kind of use that as a guide or model if they're on the right track for that concept.
And
I
by
also,
the way, go ahead, Lisa. Go ahead.
one last thing, when I was saying about, I kind of touched on it. I might give students a few of them, different versions, the book creator version, the Google Doc version, and maybe even a different grade level version, and let them choose which one really helped them as a learner and do that metacognitive piece with them. I love choice for that. And it also, when I asked them, which one did you gravitate to as a learner, they had to read them all 3 times. So it kind of gets you to read and like critically think, am I understanding this? It's kind of a catch. Metacognition is just a great way to bring kids in.
I love that.
I couldn't agree. Yeah, that is fantastic too, because they're slowly learning and developing, what sources, how do I like to consume this information? I have Miss Highfill's class after lunch and I like videos after lunch, but I have Miss Highfill's class first bell and I like to read first bell, like even the nuances of that. Like it took me into my 30s to realize that like I write emails in the morning, not the afternoon. Like don't write an email in the afternoon. It comes out like crap. All right, here's one for Vlad. Can Diffit be used in Arabic, and is it available in the UAE, Dubai?
I believe the answer to both is yes. If you go to Diffit, generate something, and then go to the top of the page, there's a language dropdown. I mean, I could check live right now, but I would be kind of surprised if we didn't have Arabic. And if we don't, that's bad on us, and we should go fix it. So, and we
Coming soon
in Dubai. So yeah, I don't see a problem there.
Yeah, I mean, Arabic's one of the top 5,
exactly.
top 10 languages. So I'm sure it's in there. So, and if not, coming soon.
Okay, Lisa.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh,
yes.
Lisa. Woo.
Love this chat.
Nice.
Awesome.
Thanks. One quick addition to the differentiation thing, because it's a feature, because we're terrible at making our features known. Like if you go, I'm amazed by how many people are like, can I do this? We're like, the button's right there, but that's on us. You can add images also. Another differentiation tool for ELD, right, is to give visual or like multimedia support. So there's an add image button above the title in every Diffit resource. You could throw in your own image to like give another reference point as well.
Oh my gosh, I just saw that.
We got to make our buttons do something else. I don't
Do I
know.
dare do it with the funk drumming?
For now, you select your own. So it's like you could throw in a chart or whatever. Yeah. We thought about having AI generate things, and then we saw a few examples of where that could go.
I see.
We're like,
yes.
No. We're going to let
this is awesome.
Teachers in the driver's seat.
Oh, I love it. Yes.
I love it. AI with guardrails. That's what we call it, a book creator. AI with guardrails. Yep. Because we have Google's Magic Draw feature.
Oh, nice.
And we've been using it for years, and it's AI. And but guardrails. Let's see. We need better buttons. Thank you, Catherine. This has been great. Yes. Sorry, Lisa, a little bit more about Book Creator. Yeah, we're working on bringing AI to our tools, but our mission and vision has not changed since day one, and it is simplicity and accessibility for students and teachers. And so I would love it if Lisa had spent this whole time talking about Book Creator too. But I think that bringing in some of these other tools and seeing how they lead to Book Creator is really fantastic. And the apply portion of this lesson, I mean, Lisa mentioned this at the beginning, apply or showing your learning, that's really oftentimes where we see Book Creator shine, is you hand something to students, you say, okay, now show me that you know what you know. Make a video, add your voice, add images, draw a picture, and really just, it's a blank canvas for students, or start with a template for students. And so on the fly, I'm sure we could come up with a couple of additional extension activities within Book Creator. We just launched graphic organizers. So Lisa could have thrown in a couple of graphic organizers to have the students think deeper about their learning and that sort of thing. But maybe we need to do around 3 and just take it to a whole nother level. Book Creator and AI, I don't know, we'll figure it out. But Lisa, thank you for pointing that out and bringing that to the surface. If you go to bookcreator.com/webinars, we got a ton of webinars.
And you're in all of them.
And you're out. No, I'm not.
Well, and I appreciate, someone had said that a lot of times we talk about, students creating a Book Creator, which is my very favorite way to use Book Creator. And I share a lot of lessons that are all about that. But I also love using it as the teacher to create content that I give to my kids. And that's something I don't talk about quite as much. And so I apologize. That's where it fell in today. Last time I created my whole lesson in Book Creator and gave it to students to create from.
And presented during the webinar.
Yes.
The presentation was Book Creator too. So.
And that was Pep Talks. And I tell you, that lesson was a hit. Anyway, so lots of different ways to use Book Creator.
I want to reassure folks, right after this call, Lisa's going to send me a one-stop shop link that I can use to put into the little email. You're going to get an email from Zoom that's like, thanks for coming. I'll make sure that a link is put in there that you'll have access to the doc and the lesson and just to her thinking and stuff. And someone had asked for the Book Creator book as well. So we'll get that to you for sure. Like I said, if you don't see it in that email, go to the YouTube and you'll see it in the comments section. Because I always make sure that that's sort of like the end all, it's in there. So if you're watching live 5 years from now, scroll down, it's in there. But if there aren't any more closing thoughts from my 2 guests, Vlad and Lisa, then I'm going to say,
just gratitude.
Do it.
Just gratitude for y'all for doing this, and for teachers and the work you do every day. I mean, new school year starting up over here. Our Australian, New Zealand friends are in the thick of it, and y'all kind of make the world go around. So thank you. Yeah, teachers are the mortar. And Lisa, thank you for coming along, for being such an expert lesson planner. Vlad, we love Diffit.me. As you can see from the chat, HyperDocs and Diffit are turning out to be 2 very popular tools. And David from Book Creator, we're so happy to have you join us. We had over 90 people watch live. And if you're watching the recording, thank you so much. Resources are linked below. And I'll be linking some exciting news from the chat. I'm sure we'll let ChatGPT tear that to pieces and see what the questions were in there. But thank you so much for joining us. And it was an absolute pleasure to have you with us, wherever you joined from. And we'll see you next time. Happy bookmaking. Bye, everyone.